What if I told you that in business, being first is often a recipe for disaster? That the race to be a pioneer, to be the first to market, is one of the most dangerous gambles a company can take. It's a concept that goes against everything we're taught. But look at the evidence. Google was not the first search engine. It was beaten to the market by years by companies like AltaVista, Lycos, and Yahoo. Facebook was not the first social network. It came after giants like Friendster and MySpace had already taught the world how to connect online. And the iPhone was not the first smartphone. Companies like IBM, Nokia, and BlackBerry had been putting email and the internet in people's pockets for nearly a decade before Steve Jobs ever walked on stage. These companies weren't the pioneers. They were the settlers. And they ended up owning all the land. The business world is obsessed with a concept known as first-mover advantage. It's the idea that the first company to enter a new market gains a powerful, and often insurmountable, competitive edge. They establish the brand, capture customer loyalty, and build a lead that followers can never overcome. We are told that being first is everything. Yet, the graveyards of business are filled with pioneers who are cut down by the latecomers who followed in their footsteps. So, is the first-mover advantage one of the most powerful forces in business? Or is it just a myth? That is the question we are unlocking today. To understand this paradox, we have to first understand why the idea of being first is so seductive. The theoretical advantages are both powerful and logical. It's a strategy built on 3 pillars. The first pillar is brand recognition. When you're the first to create a new category, your brand name can become synonymous with the product itself. Think Kleenex for facial tissues, Xerox for photocopies, Hoover for vacuums. This isn't just marketing. It's a deep, psychological anchor in the consumer's mind. For years, every competitor is seen as just a copy of the original. The first mover becomes the default, the standard by which all others are judged. This builds a powerful and lasting form of customer loyalty. The second pillar is high switching costs. The first mover has the opportunity to lock customers into their ecosystem, making it difficult or expensive to leave. The classic example is Microsoft Windows. By being the first dominant operating system for personal computers, they created a powerful moat. Software developers built applications for Windows. Hardware manufacturers made devices compatible with Windows. And users learned how to navigate its interface. For a customer to switch to a competing operating system, they would have to buy all new software, learn a new system, and risk compatibility issues. The cost of switching was simply too high. The first mover built a world, and then locked the gates behind its customers. The final pillar is the control of scarce resources. The pioneer in a new field can claim the most valuable assets before anyone else arrives. This could mean securing critical patents that block competitors, signing exclusive, long-term deals with the best suppliers, acquiring prime physical or digital real estate, or hiring the top engineering talent in a brand new field. By the time competitors decide to enter the market, the most valuable resources are already gone. The followers are left to fight over the scraps. In theory, these 3 advantages should create an unassailable fortress. But in practice, each of these advantages comes with a hidden, and often fatal, weakness. This is the pioneer's burden. The first, and most expensive, burden is the cost of education. The first mover doesn't just have to sell a product, they have to educate the world that the entire product category even needs to exist. They have to spend enormous amounts of time and money teaching customers what the new technology is, how it works, and why their lives would be better with it. Friendster and MySpace spent hundreds of millions of dollars teaching an entire generation the concept of a social network. They did all the hard work. And then Facebook arrived. Facebook didn't have to explain the concept. The market was already educated. They just had to do it better. They rode the wave of awareness that their predecessors had paid to create. The second burden is technological uncertainty. The pioneer is forced to make a bet on which version of a new technology will become the standard. And very often, they bet on the wrong horse. In the late 1970s, Sony's Betamax was the first home video cassette format on the market. By all technical measures, it was superior to JVC's competing format, VHS. But JVC made a crucial strategic decision. They licensed their VHS technology to any manufacturer who wanted it. Soon, dozens of companies were making VHS players, driving down prices and increasing the number of available movies. Sony, protective of its technology, kept Betamax proprietary. While Betamax may have been the better technology, VHS became the better ecosystem. It became the standard. Sony, the first mover, was left with a superior product that nobody wanted. The second movers who waited and backed the winning VHS standard ended up dominating the market. Finally, there is the free rider problem. The pioneer makes all the costly mistakes in public. They launch a product, discover its flaws, and struggle to fix them. The follower gets to watch from the sidelines, taking notes. They can learn from the pioneer's mistakes for free. They can reverse engineer the product, identify its weaknesses, and design a superior version from day one. AltaVista was a revolutionary search engine. But as it grew, its homepage became cluttered with news, email, and shopping links. It lost its focus. The founders of Google, watching from their garage, learned a critical lesson. They realized that users didn't want a portal, they wanted a search box. Google launched with a radically simple interface, focusing on one thing and one thing only, delivering the best possible search results, as fast as possible. They learned from AltaVista's mistakes and built a better product. This brings us to the playbook of the second mover. Because followers don't win by accident. They win by executing a specific strategy. Their first advantage is superior execution. The second mover doesn't have to invent. They have to innovate. They can focus all their resources on creating a better user experience. There were dozens of MP3 players on the market before 2001. But they were clunky, hard to use, and transferring music was a nightmare. Then Apple launched the iPod. Apple didn't invent the MP3 player, but they perfected it. They combined a beautiful piece of hardware with a simple piece of software, iTunes, and created an experience that was seamless. They didn't win by being first. They won by offering a product that was 10 times better. The second mover's other great advantage is the ability to capitalize on incumbent complacency. First movers, sitting atop their market, often become arrogant, slow, and resistant to change. They are so invested in their current way of doing business that they fail to see the next big threat. Blockbuster was the undisputed first mover and king of home video rentals. They had thousands of stores on the best street corners. When a small startup called Netflix came to them in the year 2000 and offered to sell their company for $50 million, the Blockbuster CEO reportedly laughed them out of the room. Blockbuster saw Netflix's DVD buy mail model as a niche, irrelevant business. And they completely failed to see the real revolution on the horizon: streaming. Netflix, the second mover in the broader movie rental space, was hungry and agile. They weren't burdened by a massive investment in physical stores. They were able to pivot and pour all their resources into the future, leaving the complacent first mover to die a slow and painful death. So where does this leave us? Is being first an advantage or a curse? The truth is, it's neither. The entire debate is based on a false premise. We're asking the wrong question. And that is the secret. That is the aha moment. The first mover advantage isn't a myth. But it's also not a guarantee. The advantage doesn't automatically go to the company that is first to market. It goes to the company that is first to scale. Being the first to launch a product is like being the first explorer to find a new continent. It's a historical footnote. The real, lasting power goes to the first group that successfully builds cities, establishes trade routes, and writes the laws. The pioneer builds the path, but the settler builds the empire. Being first simply gives you a head start. It's a temporary lead. The advantage is only created by what you do with that head start. Can you use your lead time to build a structural moat? Can you build powerful network effects, like Facebook did? Can you create a beloved brand and a superior user experience, like Apple did? Can you build a technological advantage that scales, like Google did? The advantage isn't in the starting position. It's in the execution of the race. The ultimate lesson here is that business is not about being first, but about being better. And more importantly, being durable. The race isn't to the starting line, it's to building a business that can last for the finish line and beyond. Whether you are the first, second, or 10th to enter a market, the strategic challenge is the same. How do you create lasting value that customers will choose over all other alternatives? The pioneers who are remembered are the ones who not only discovered new territory but also had the vision and the strategic discipline to build a kingdom upon it. If you learned something new, hit the like button and subscribe for more strategy breakdowns. And let us know in the comments, what company's strategy should we unlock next?